Thank you so much for being here with us tonight at Echo Base TV, where community happens. Echo Base Network. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight at Echo Base TV, where community happens.
Sorry, guys. I was freaking dealing with an issue here at the house. Joining me today is John F. Trent and Tom from Midnight's Edge. How's it going, guys?
Hello. How are you doing?
Good, good. How long once the pre-show ended did was it just sitting here black?
About 10 minutes.
Oh, whatever.
It's like 30 seconds, I feel like. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I had my I didn't have the screen up, so I wasn't paying attention. I was listening to the music.
Yeah, like 30
it wasn't
seconds.
that long.
All right, cool deal. Well, guys, EBN Cast episode number 25. Loki's at a doctor's appointment. Mexican Ironman's with a client. So we got Tom. It's just me and Tom and John today. But this is episode 25. Real quick, there's 4 different ways you guys can support us here. Actually, 5. First one, EBN memberships. 2, Patreon, which we post tons of stuff over there that we cannot post here on YouTube. Our merch store, of course. Super chats, if there's anything you guys want to hear us talk about or ask us a question or get our thoughts on, that's a good way to do that. And number 5, that's not listed here, just being here. Smash that like button, be here every Friday, 2:00 Central Time. And that really helps out this show and the channel. So we're going to go ahead and get right into the show today, guys. And the title of this is the truth behind all the save and anti-save Acolyte petitions, which are pretty freaking hilarious. I'm sure you guys have seen these going around. Let me share my screen here. So here's one of the people out there, with the hashtag Save the Acolyte. And they have a petition going. They're up to 22,000. And we started a petition, anti-save or anti-renew the Acolyte petition, which is a total troll petition. It's literally to troll these people. None of these petitions are going to do anything. And the whole reason I'm talking about this is we actually had some people message us this right here from the Geeks and Gamers stream today with Jeremy and Ryan, and I'm just gonna play this here.
Things can we do that? I did see some anti-renew the Acolyte, like keep the Acolyte canceled petitions. I'm like, I think that's just about as gay and cringe too, to be honest. But do what you're gonna do, I suppose. Yeah, Thunderstrike.
So he's not wrong. He's not wrong. So some people were sending us some messages like, hey, Ron was saying that y'all's petition is cringe and gay. Yeah, it is. That's the whole point. All these petitions are cringe and gay. They are going to literally do nothing. 22,244 signatures on this. I saw somebody comment saying, all these people would be better off if they donated money, and gave it to Disney to try to get the show back on to basically where the fans paid for it. But that even the fans of the show, there's not enough of them to get anywhere close to $180 million for this to keep going. But I did want to look at some of these cringe.
Watch it now. Hello. I'm partnering with Disney to tell y'all about Star Wars The Outlaw.
Heavily what? What did you say?
Show is a book lover's dream. Not only is
this show is a book lover's dream
with some crazy character art, but call me Delulu because these two characters just scream enemies to lovers. The amount of angst and animosity between them, baby, you would have thought I was in a sauna the way it was heating up. And along with that, I just have to give my girl Amanda her flowers because it's been so long since I've seen a fierce and badass female lead. Osha is somebody I aspire to be one day. So if you're looking to watch impressive,
she aspires.
It's been so long since we've seen that fierce female lead, man. So long.
Yeah, it's been forever. Here's somebody else talking about. I don't know, y'all. I think the fans are speaking loud and clear. Keep going, And here's this, and then here's all the other ones. Which there's been several of these anti-renew the Acolyte petitions started. But when they took this, they were at 20,000. Here's ours at 541. Yeah, but again, I thought Robert Meyer Burnett put it best. This show was canceled, not because of the fan backlash, not because of the wokeness or whatever. Crap that they're going to be trying to get away from it or whatever. Basically, he was saying that it was canceled because the numbers are terrible and the show is expensive, and it just doesn't make good business sense to continue it, which is 100% true. But that's kind of where the show is at right now. Thoughts, John?
I actually think they should renew it so they can spend more money on the show, and they can get even less viewership than the first season.
Yeah, I mean, I was rooting for a second season because I'd never had more fun roasting a show ever in my life.
How many of those 20,000 people that are signing the renew the petition are actually wanting it to be renewed so they can just roast it? More.
Exactly. So we got a group DM on Twitter going with several people, and they were literally talking about that same thing in there. I
did look at one of the comments on it and I saw that, but most of them seem to be like legitimate. But you never know, right? It's the internet. You never know if it's like, I love the show, please renew it, but like they might actually be wanting it. They might hate it, but they're doing it just so it makes it look like it's makes it look like they want it renewed.
Yeah, and all these people simping for the whole OSHA and Kamir, and then we get the last shot of them holding hands, and it's just like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I'm guessing you guys saw the Tom. I know you did because you're in that.
You're not a
group.
fan of Oshimir?
No, not at all. But the Steph over at My Nerdy Home, the TikTok compilation video she put together of the people talking about how the is and obes and everything. It looks like we won, because they canceled the show and all that. Tom, thoughts on all this crazy nonsense, stupidity?
I don't know what I won because I mean, we were we were first grifting off the show and making money off the hate. If the show continues, then that means we would benefit, right? So
yeah,
why
exactly.
would we want it to be canceled? I don't think you're, I would honestly, I'll sign any of the ones that say to keep it on the air because I'd like to buy a boat someday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when this show was airing, like literally this channel, we had the best month in the history of this channel, like by far. Because we were doing 2 live streams a week and we were cranking videos out left and right over all the nonsense in this show, The Acolyte.
Just imagine how great your channel would have been if you had been doing that with The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a hard time about you guys liking The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we blew up during all that, but it was on the other side of the spectrum, on the more, not hating on it so much. Which, while that show was going on, I definitely had issues. And I definitely had some complaints about the first 2 seasons. Overall, I thought they were mostly enjoyable and at least watchable. Especially the last 4 episodes of season 2, I thought was the best episodes that they put out there. But yeah, here's that video right here.
Love that girl power scene. Just like Avengers Endgame.
Get that. They've hit the second tower.
It was set up to fail from the beginning. When The Acolyte was first announced as a female-run show with Leslie Headland at the
I guess this chick has been freaking out on Twitter over this.
And a diverse cast of characters, unlike we had seen in a Star Wars project before, the review bombers took to the internet before the show even had a chance to air.
Is it worth the price?
I understand that it got review bombed to an insane degree by so many people who were hating on it just because of what seemed like internal prejudice.
Amanda Stenberg, who not only gave a phenomenal performance as Osha, but also as her twin sister May, had no choice but to stick up for themselves and defend herself against the vitriol.
She got her pronouns wrong.
Because Lucasfilm did not.
I dated this chick before. She is so not like the real lady, but I've dated so many women like this, and it's like, yeah, you get in the middle of this, you get yelled at like this after so many times, and you're just like, what the fuck did I do to get myself here?
What were you thinking, Tom?
What was I thinking?
Protect her.
I like
the
sex.
show was set up to fail.
Yeah.
The supposed Star Wars fans were divided, and by that I mean incels of the internet and of.
So right there where she says the Star Wars fans were divided, I honestly look at it and think that the Star Wars fans were mostly united against this show.
This was a lot like Velma, right? When even the woke folk are just like, okay, you've gone too far. Like, that's what this show felt like. Even some of the diehard Disney Star Wars fans are just like, yeah, I think you jumped the shark a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, John Campea even stopped watching the show. He was like, I'm not hate watching it. He was like, I'm
Grace
done.
Randolph. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. She did not start trashing it till the last episode.
Around was it episode
7.
5? 7 was it?
Was it 7?
Yeah, it was like the penultimate one is where she turned on it.
Twitter. Managed to pull off enemies to lovers so well.
Lucasfilm didn't do anything to protect the cast and the crew of the Acolyte.
Why can't the
She
girl
changed clothes and she turned her lightsaber red. That's how she pulled it off so well.
Protect
That's
the
not how the
cast
Force
and
works.
protect the cast and the crew. What does Lucasfilm and Disney need to protect them from?
Oh, they set 'em
Criticism?
up for failure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get that. Right here. Why can't girls have fun things for girlies? They do
It's called
tons of
Barbie.
stuff. You know, Chris Gore talked about this about, you know, Star Wars basically being a boy brand thing. You know, when you go to the toy aisle, there's a
Yeah.
boys toy aisle and a girls toy aisle.
Well, they tried to quit doing that for a while, but yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with shows and movies. You know,
Well, that's what I said. Barbie. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Bridgerton.
Yeah, Bridgerton. Well, like when the Notebook came out, were all the guys rushing out, going, "Oh my God, you guys see the new Notebook movie?" Like, oh, it's fucking awesome. You know, no, but guys were saying that. You know,
Well, they went and seen that Blake Lively movie this last weekend or whatever it was. It Ends Here With Us, or not last weekend, but the weekend before. And I mean, they're still going. So I mean, like, yeah, you put stuff out there that women want to see, they will go see it in droves, just like we go see things we want to see when you actually put something out that's worth a crap.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for these shows.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff, like a lot of the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff, I always thought was like, bisexual or asexual, however you want to say it or term it. You know, where, you know, guys and girls can both go watch it, that stuff, and enjoy it. But it's really a boys' brand. Even George Lucas said, you know, he made Star Wars for 12-year-old boys.
Women don't even show up to these things. I mean, when we go back
No.
to the Furiosa Mad Max saga, I crunched some numbers and it had an 80% decline in female audience compared to Mad Max Fury Road.
Wow, that much of a decline?
Yeah, from females. Yeah, based on like ticket sales and the percentages of females who bought tickets, according to some of the data that we had. So 80% decline.
Yep.
Hmm.
for the
Because you took the
girlies,
male out of the
like-
male tradition.
Yeah.
That should
But it just shows how fragile you guys are to storytelling.
and it was for the
I'd wager that
Fragile
they were
just-
probably,
tell it.
What story? The story was all over the place. Fragile to storytelling? Does that make sense to either one of you guys?
no.
Oh, good Lord.
If you mean lying and gaslighting, yes. If that's what you mean by quote unquote storytelling.
Yeah, and one of the weirdest things about the so-called storytelling in the show was it seemed like the motivation behind a lot of the characters was constantly changing. Like May, you know, she was like, one minute she's like, what am I doing? I'm not doing this. I'm turning myself in. I'm letting the Jedi know everything. I'm going back to my sister. Next second, she's trying to kill the Jedi, right back to same old, same old. I'm like, what? Wait a second. What are you talking about?
She saw the Wookiee was dead, so she had a change of heart immediately.
Yeah, I guess so.
for the girls on board.
Leslie Headland was so dedicated as a fan of Star Wars.
So in Mother
A fan of Star Wars. She's such a huge fan of Star Wars that when she was asked, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? She said all of them. It's sort of like a basketball or football fan, you know. Hey, who's your favorite player? I like all of them. Who's your favorite race car driver, John? All of them?
I mean, it depends on which kind of series you're asking. I'd answer. So
NASCAR.
NASCAR. I like Ryan Blaney and Ross Chastain.
But you wouldn't say all of them.
No, definitely not.
Exactly.
I probably like my favorite one of all time is Mark Martin, but obviously he's retired now. So
that name sounds familiar. I got a lot of buddies who watch that stuff. So I hear their conversations a lot. Let's see. When Mother Asaya says this quote,
Anicia says
The galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us, which was another cringe line of dialogue in the show.
Because it was breaking the fourth wall. And it was
Yeah.
all about
Is
being gay.
literally about people of color. Ask me what I'm about to do.
What do they mean by us?
Yeah.
I'm about to
She
cry.
said people of color, I think.
Yeah.
I don't care about what the incel said. You guys bullied Amanda Stenberg so bad.
The Acolyte, it was kind of to be expected considering how it is set in the universe that has, if not one of then the most toxic fan base like ever.
To receive this news,
Shit, you ain't met Snyder Bros.
I like him.
I am mourning the fact that we're not getting.
What is that song they keep playing?
We're not gonna
She's
get
mourning.
material.
What do you mean?
I don't get the song though. What's it from?
I don't know.
The viewership was not bad. The precedent this is setting is very
Viewership was not bad.
Yeah, she just said the viewership was not bad. Not
This is
bad.
this is the person who said that it was set up to fail from the beginning by
No,
Lucasfilm.
you guys are misinterpreting. When she says viewership, it's not one word, it's two, meaning the shipping that the viewers were doing.
Gotcha. My mistake.
That was a little bit of a English joke there.
Real quick, hail to Knee Pain. He was in our live stream last night. Former Lucasfilm employee who we actually got to watch the Acolyte, and he actually gave some genuine, real criticism of the show. So if you guys have not subbed to Knee Pain and seen those videos, go check them out. Let's continue.
and very concerning. What Lucasfilm is doing with this decision is allowing the bigots to win, allowing the bigots to run with this and decide, even if that's not the original intention of Anson Hill, that they have won, that they are correct, that Star Wars needs to be white and male, and it can't be anything else.
We need to retroactively erase Lando Calrissian and Princess Leia from the original trilogy right now. Do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Samuel Jackson was never a Jedi.
No. And the thing is, we talked about this when we were doing our post Acolyte reviews every Tuesday night. Like, literally, you could have the exact same dialogue, exact same story, exact same everything, replace all the actors and actresses with all white males, and it would still suck. It is so far beyond that side of things. It's not even funny. This show has way more problems than any kind of woke, stuff in it. All right.
Well, that comes from the wokeness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They have such a warped mind view. That's why
Yeah.
they write stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I just basically have one reaction to this.
We tried and Acolyte died. We know there are more of us than there are of you. This is us. I don't understand. It was probably because of a man. The season of one with no season two. Now Leslie doesn't know what to do. Man, all these internet critics are so mean. Maybe we can get help from Daddy Weinstein. We were review bombed, and all the racist men wouldn't let us have no fun. So now the Acolyte is done.
That's the short version. There you go.
That's freaking
That was my
hilarious.
follow-up to Power of One, Power of Two. Yeah.
Yeah, freaking the whole review bomb. Like, what?
Yeah, review bomb. People
That's
have to
literally
give a
the-
crap to review bomb.
Yeah.
That's also the narrative that Lucasfilm ran. That's what Leslie Headland said was happening. So they're just parroting what she said.
And if all the white males don't like this because it's not enough whites in it or something, why was Black Panther not review bombed? I mean, tons of people went and saw that movie.
Well, and speaking of, we brought up Ryan Cannell before. I think he was the one who coined the term love bombing, if I remember right. Why don't they ever talk about that?
Yeah.
When all these things get 10 out of 10s constantly just because you got a bunch of people trying to make the rating go up.
Yeah,
It's the same difference.
toxic positivity.
The FTC is talking about that.
Who
Guess
is
it's a new rule? The FTC, they introduced a new rule that could affect corporations manipulating reviews to try and make it look like their products are better than what they are.
I I had not heard that.
Yeah, I remember that, John. I was reading about that. I'm curious how that's going to affect the $50 for good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I think that is going to be going away very soon. And maybe that's the reason why they just changed their policy over there at Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, now you got the popcorn bucket, and you can't actually review it unless you what is it? It's got to be
you have to have purchased your tickets through Fandango now. It used to be that you didn't have to, but this was something they had talked about implementing, I think, like a year ago. Maybe you'll remember that, John. I think they were saying the same thing. They were talking about it, and a bunch of people freaked out, so they didn't then. So I'm not surprised that they're doing it now. But yeah, it was kind of like this thing. They were making it to where if you didn't buy the tickets through Fandango, they said they weren't going to count the reviews.
Yeah.
I think they still have the all audience score there too.
For now.
Yeah. I was their whole like explanation for why they were like renaming it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. It looks like they were just kind of adding in, they were reskinning it, so they were just calling it something else instead of the audience score. They're calling it like the popcorn meter or whatever. And then they put a threshold on how many reviews you need based on box office projections.
I mean,
So
we got to watch out for Fandango. They're sliding in and buying and taking over a bunch of crap right now. And I mean, this is a company that basically made their money off of doing nothing more than maintaining a website, right? Like they literally inserted themselves as a third party into this equation. And I swear it's because of them now, all of a sudden, all these theaters are, reservation seats only, right? Because I remember bringing this up about 2 years ago. I'm like, well, what the hell is with this all of a sudden? It used to be you get first come, first serve. You get there, you get the good seats early. That's why you want to get there early. Now, all of a sudden, all 90% of the theaters I try to go to, you have to reserve your seats. And Andre's like, well, it's always been like that over here. It's like, well, it hasn't been here.
No.
And that's a new practice that I can't believe we got so used to, but I'm not surprised because Americans are so lazy and they want to show up late, right? So then they don't have to worry about getting a shitty seat.
Yeah. So Alien Romulus, the movie started at 10. I didn't get there till 10:30 because I had to pick my seat
we almost
early.
know they're going to have a half-hour commercials too.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And I knew there was going to be a half-hour commercials. So I got there 30 minutes late, past the start time, and the movie hadn't even started yet.
John,
and I got a popcorn bucket, drink, all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, so you're talking about Fandango. Fandango is actually owned by NBC Universal, and Warner Brothers has a minority stake in it as well.
Yeah, so we got to be careful.
It's literally the movie companies that own Fandango, and I think that is what the FTC ruling was kind of aimed at: is that the companies that are making the movies own the review platforms, and the FTC is not happy with that, thinking that they might be manipulating that to favor their products.
Gee, almost like we all been reporting on it for years, John. I mean, like,
the government's slow and it takes a long time.
It's a little inefficient, but we get there.
This one right here I thought was pretty funny. Those incels and dude bros should have never underestimated the power of our fandom. This is just the beginning.
The power
Hashtag
of
renew
one.
the Acolyte.
The power of two.
Hashtag
the power
save
of
the
none.
Yeah.
Is that Drew Barrymore? Who is that?
I think it is.
It looks like her.
Yeah, I think it is. Enough with the games, Mouse. Give us back the Acolyte.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Filoni and Iger watching as the series they just canceled starts trending and gets more support by the minute.
Where?
From all these weirdos.
No, I know, but I mean, like rhetorically, where?
Yeah. The show's still out there. The show is still out there.
I mean, Andre coined the term willowed, and that's been getting spreading a bit. Yeah, he's like, is this going to be the next to get willowed?
Yeah. So we talked about this in our stream last night. So Coach and Matt Rispin don't think that they're going to willow it because it's going to really look bad for the Star Wars brand, and Willow is not really as big as Star Wars. So because of that reason, they don't think that they'll actually yank it off. I'm on the side man, this thing did worse than Willow did, especially from the critic and audience rating standpoint, for sure.
Did it do less ratings than Willow? That was my question.
No, Willow never made it on Nielsen's charts.
I was gonna say, because like I
think
there's still stipulations, and I'm not 100% on this, that they can't just write these shows off, especially if they've already released them. Now, if they haven't released them, that's different.
Yeah.
Kind of like Batgirl and all that kind of shit. But now with like this, like I wonder if there's like a stipulation with X amount of people, if they've seen it, then they can't write it off. But if it's low enough, maybe they can. Because I know that was the problem with Willow and Turner and Hooch and all those shows they did memory hole.
Warner Brothers took a $200 million impairment charge on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and they're still selling it. So,
well,
yeah, true.
Yeah, it's hard to see. I don't know how that stuff works because I don't know the tax laws. So, I just know that, yeah, like basically that's why we'll never see Batgirl, or we'll never see probably Coyote and Acme if that ends up getting written off, which it looks like it's likely.
I was just thinking about that movie when you guys were talking about that, and
I think those are different. They probably got way more back from those because they didn't actually.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it all depends. I'm sure, like the level and how much and whatnot. Because that's the thing. It's not like Willow wasn't released. It's not like Turner and Hooch and Mighty Ducks weren't released. They were released. Just obviously not enough people watched them to where they were able to write it off as a loss on that end. And I don't know how that works. But now from here on out, they can never release Willow again. They can never release the Mighty Ducks again. Which is funny because Mighty Ducks actually got 2 seasons, if I remember right. But
I think so. Yes, it did.
The first season wasn't bad.
That was back in the time when no one was caring about how much they spent, and it was just like, we need content. Make more content. More content, please.
Yeah. So that is pretty much what's going on with this crazy petition stuff, and all these people coming out trying to, do the hashtag save the Acolyte. As Brian Kennel said, it's cringe and gay, and it is. And so is our petitions, which are complete trolls of these petitions. But, it's all in jest and it's funny. I think so anyways.
This thing has not been doing well at all.
No. So, yeah, they're at 23,000, but this literally, like we said when we started this, it's going to change nothing. Do you guys see any of this petition stuff changing anything about season 2 coming or any
I
of that?
have never seen any of these petitions ever make a change in anything.
No.
And even when they have, it usually still doesn't work out. Right?
Yeah.
Like the few times we have it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to point out, to make your point, how many people signed the Game of Thrones petition, and then I think that was like the biggest petition I've ever seen kind of in this sphere, and did not.
Yeah, it was over 500,000, wasn't it?
I think it was over 1 million. I feel.
Well, did it get over 1 million?
Yeah, that one was probably one of the biggest ones. But otherwise, you look at the successful campaigns like The Expanse, and I mean, in that show barely limped into like 2 or 3 extra seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even then, that's not. Did the fan campaigns are part of part of a bigger campaign, because you obviously have like the showrunners trying to like cook deals with like the producers and then the streaming services and things like that, and so they're just using the petitions as like kind of evidence of there is an audience out here. We just need to be a better job at doing it, and clearly it worked with The Expanse. I think The Expanse was clearly dead over at Sci-Fi. You get it out on Amazon, opened it up to a much wider audience.
But my point was like, that's the exception to the rule, right? Like, I mean, you could even argue, look at something like Firefly, where that had, a big, or at least a loud minority of people going, "Hey, why did you cancel the show?" Then they put out the movie, and the movie flops, right? Well, and and that's where just some people got to understand that. Look, kind of like another show, Deadwood. These shows, they may be popular to an extent, but they're not popular enough to justify the spending, right? Like, and that's what I know about like Firefly and Deadwood and certain shows like that got ended way too early, was that they just cost so damn much to make. Yeah. And that's a problem.
Yeah. Which is the case with this show.
Which is funny, is that we got to this point, right? Like, cause when Netflix first started creating streaming shows, most of them were really cheap. Right, like they weren't like spending a buttload of money. There were a few prestige shows.
Cost, yes.
Yeah, but they were like cheaper shows. Like, and that's the thing I don't understand is like when Disney Plus started, and I said this a few times, I don't understand the mentality they went into this. This should have been their replacement for the Disney Channel. Like, what were you thinking trying to usurp and replace your entire way you do business through one avenue now and bottleneck all your shit into one place? When before that you had theater, you had video, you had all these other places, but you had a brand on TV already with the Disney Channel. You had your shows that you were doing there. That was the place where all your movies and stuff would go after they would do their runs in theaters. That's what Disney Plus should have been, was the de facto new Disney Channel. Pump up all your shows that your old classics, you know, and all that kind of stuff from the Hannah Montana days and all that kind of crap up through now, right? And you just produce those level of shows. Then Disney Plus would be in the profits already, had that been what they had done this whole time, right? Produce these cheaper, kids-oriented comedies and dramedies and stuff like that, and a few animated shows. And I think it would have been done great.
Yeah, and then they could have put like the Acolyte, Mando, Ahsoka, all that stuff on like ABC.
That's just it. Exactly. That's the next step. You're hitting the point right on the head, because that's where they're losing the money. You put it on TV first. You gain your revenue from the commercials and stuff. So then when you slap it on Disney Plus, it's already got that pedigree going into it. And that's what drives this stuff. And this is why I don't understand why Apple's getting out of putting their movies in theaters. This is why I don't understand why Netflix doesn't put some of their movies in theaters more often. Because it's like, you guys are leaving money on the table. When I worked in a video store, the amount of money that we paid for a pre-sell-through tape that was in theaters for a movie compared to a straight-to-video was astronomical. We're talking half the cost, right? But all they would do sometimes is throw these movies out in theaters for a weekend or two, just so they could say it was a theatrical release and charge the full price. Sorry, that was my point.
Yeah, to that point, I actually talked to Steve Deese. He's a commentator over at The Blaze, but he produced a movie called Nefarious, I think a couple of years ago. I watched it. I liked that movie. It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was as well. And he was actually telling me that what you do now is you do indeed put your movie in theaters as a marketing device, and you actually make up the cost of it on the streaming, on selling the streaming rights and the VOD. That's where you really make up a lot of your money. But the putting it into theaters is literally a marketing tactic, especially for a movie like his, which was kind of a small budget.
Yeah. Do you remember? Exactly. Do you remember the time when we would talk about like box office numbers and all that sort of stuff, and then like, and then we would say, and then they'll get, you know, such and such amount, you know, from physical sales, you know, like that's pretty much out the window now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they killed like 4 or 5 revenue streams, and I've said this many times before, so I'll try to keep it as succinct as possible. But, you know, it used to be you'd have a movie come out in theaters. It would run for about 6 months to however long, depending on if it didn't do well, maybe 3 months. If it does really well, it might be in there for 8-9 months, right? Like, movies sometimes would run a long time. Star Wars traditionally was a movie that ran in theaters for, 2-3 years? There was one theater that showed it nonstop. Anyway, that being said, and then you would go to your video, and then you'd have your pay-per-view, then you'd have your HBO or Showtime, whatever it was, and then you'd have your network television, and then you'd have your cable and syndicated sales. So right there is all those revenue streams have been completely chopped off.
Yep.
Just so they could throw this stuff on a streaming service directly. Right? I mean, and you're talking where a lifespan of a film was about 4 years at that point. Yeah. Sorry about John.
Yeah, I think Disney was making like $1 billion in revenue from like their licensing deal with Netflix before they decided to.
I believe you're right. Yeah,
cut it off.
But I mean, look at things like The Little Mermaid and Lion King. Like Little Mermaid didn't do as well in the theater as Lion King did, but it did gangbusters on video. And Lion King was the #1 selling video for the longest time because they sold more videotapes. Let me rephrase that. They made more money on the videotape than they did in the theatrical release. Which they made $500 million in 1990. What was it, 4? That movie came out. They made over that on the video sales. So that movie alone has made over $1 billion just in revenue back then. You inflate that dwarfs what that remake made. And that's why I don't understand why they're thinking this is such a profitable venture, that they're down this road. And I know we've been beating this dead horse for about 5 years now, but still, it's just like, how often can you keep doing the same dang thing and keep thinking it's going to change? I mean, that's the definition of insanity, right? Like, I don't understand how much farther they can take this. Luckily, we're starting to see a change. And I think the Acolyte getting canceled, at least that's the other thing we're not talking about this thing too, is it didn't just get canceled. They got publicly canceled in a way that you don't normally see a show get canceled. It wasn't an official press release, but it was a confirmation from somebody inside Lucasfilm, according to the report that came out, which means somebody wanted this to get out in the press, right? Usually we don't find about a show getting renewed until just before the new season starts.
And when have we heard a cancellation of anything out of Lucasfilm? Ryan Johnson,
never.
It's still in the works. We're still have the line open. We do have I did just report on a rumor today from Matt McGloin over at Cosmic Book News that Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie is done and he's out of there. But we haven't heard anything like from any of the trades or from Lucasfilm. They never cancel that stuff. So to your point,
and the Lando show too. Apparently, it's done.
It's back and forth. It's like you hear one guy saying he's out, but then you've got the guy. What's the guy who plays? I forget his name. That Stenberg cites in her interview or whatever. I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Animated show canceled because of Taylor Swift or something. Because he had a Taylor Swift joke. I'm blanking on his name right now. He played Lando.
Oh, you're talking about now I forgot his name.
I know.
Kid Cudi or whatever his real name is.
God, that's gonna drive me nuts.
I know, and it's at the tip of my tongue.
I know he's a junior.
Donald Glover.
Thank you.
Thank you
Donald
guys
Glover,
in the chat. I knew
Donald
somebody
Glover.
in the chat would get us.
Yeah.
Well, no, they were back and forth on that. Was going to be a movie, then it was going to be a series, and then it's not happening. And I think the only reason this Taika Waititi thing got out, John, is because somebody asked somebody at Comic-Con about it, and they verified, Taika Waititi is no longer working on Thor 4 or a Star Wars.
He confirmed he was not doing Thor.
Yeah, we already knew that. I was going to say. So that's what I
think.
think. I think at this point, that's kind of the way of saying, Disney and Taika Waititi are not in the same business anymore. Basically, I think is kind of what it was getting to.
Which he was Mando, right? He was directing. He was he was IG-11. So
I think
wasn't his Hitler movie also, wasn't that a Disney produced thing, or was that somebody else who did that? I don't know.
God, what was the name of that?
Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit. That was actually a pretty good movie. It had some messed up parts in it though, for sure.
He's doing Time Bandits now with Apple, I think.
With Apple,
Oh God, that's terrible.
And that's a whole nother can of worms. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Anyways, guys, that is all the news on the Acolyte. Save the Acolyte.
And that would have been distributed through Disney because it was Fox Searchlight. Sorry, I just looked that up. The Jojo Rabbit movie.
Oh, okay, yeah. Real quick, SWA gifted 1 Echo-based network membership. Hail to you, SWA. And then GraphWeb for $2 for F's sake. #cancel Disney Plus. I've never subscribed to Disney Plus. Never, not once.
I have it, but that's because my kid has a Verizon phone, so I get it for free.
Yeah, so I got it for free the first year they offered it through my work.
Watch it.
Yeah, I got it through my work. So I got it for free the first year because my work phone was a Verizon phone. And now I use my brother's login because he's got small kids and they watch like the old X-Men animated series and a lot of the old classic stuff, so I just use his login. But yeah,
I get through a family member. My kids watch like Sound of Music, the
Muppets Show, a lot of the classics, I
mean, like the 90s movies like Tom was talking about, Little Mermaid, Lion King. My daughter actually likes some of the straight to DVD movies that I didn't even know existed. Like there's like a Little Mermaid sequel and stuff about her daughter.
Oh God!
And that's the problem with the movies being on Disney Plus, right? And that's where they should have really made it to like you can only see these movies for a limited time on Disney Plus, and then they're going to go back in the vault because now they've got Little Mermaid right next to Little Mermaid 2. They got Bambi right next to Bambi 2. They got Cinderella next to Cinderella 2 and 3. So all that does is make Cinderella now as worthless as Cinderella 2 and 3. It doesn't raise the value of the other stuff because before you had this. Elusiveness or this eliteness to the Disney films is like you knew every 7 years there was that specific list of vaulted films that if you didn't go see it in theaters and buy that tape or DVD at that time, it was not going to come out again for another decade almost.
My mom collected all those VHS tapes.
A lot of people did.
It's coming out. I gotta go get it.
Yeah,
they did Nintendo before Nintendo did.
Yep, I remember every single time they would come out and say that would be what everybody would be talking. Oh, did you hear what's coming out of the Disney vault? they're bringing this movie, you know, Aristocrats or Bambi or, you know, back out on VHS, you know, and everybody would rush there and get it with the new box artwork and cover or whatever it is that they did on the when they re-released it. You know, and that they made a good chunk of money doing that.
Yep.
Also, real quick, Zombie Box reviews. Hell to you, good sir, with $3 super sticker.
It's actually £3.
Giving us a pair doing fist bumps.
I think that's worth more than 3 in the US now, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Towns have always been worth more, at least.
Yeah, usually are.
I've been alive.
Down. Yeah.
Yep. Zombie Box, Graph Web. Thank you for those super chats. This super chat video is for you guys, and they give us Pee Wee Herman bucks.
I know you fly, but what am I?
And to our new member, this one is for you.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Anybody else ever notice how the Wutani and the Nakatomi logo look a lot alike?
Oh, now that you mention, I don't know if you knew this. The very first Lethal Weapon movie, you know, when they jump out of the window and they're go into the pool.
Yeah,
you remember that, Tom?
Yeah,
Lethal Weapon 1, where they get the guy and they fall out of the hotel into the pool.
Yeah.
The Nakatomi Tower is right there.
Well, you know that's Fox's old old headquarters. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that looks like Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard. So I pulled up the location of that tower on Google Earth, and then looked off to the side of it, and sure enough, there's a hotel there with the pool and everything.
It's actually the second one, I think, but yeah.
Was it the second Lethal Weapon?
So.
2? Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was
but
one.
The girl jumps from the hotel tower in the first one. I think that may be what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But no, like that was Fox's building. They were actually building it at the time they made Die Hard. That's why they have all those parts of the building that aren't finished. And the building wasn't filled in yet with other offices and stuff renting it out yet, so they were able to use it. Although the people that were there working at the time were really pissed because they kept setting off explosions.
Oh,
and shaking the whole building.
All right. Next topic, guys. John's got one for us. What do we got here, John?
Yeah, so if you've been paying attention to what's happening in the video game space, this game Concord has like full of DEI character designs, and
I heard about
basically
this.
it's the next game to get cooked. We're gonna burn it. We're gonna burn this game, and so it just came out today. We've been tracking how many people are actually going to be playing this game, and players. If you refresh things a little bit higher.
Right now.
I think it's a little bit higher now, but what is interesting here is that we already saw kind of people like log off. So, or the peak was declining. So, but it is back to 637. I think what it needs to do to even make any kind of splash is to be over 2,500, which I think is where it was in the open beta when this game was available for free. You have to pay $40 now to play this game. And I just don't think people are going to do that when they weren't willing to play the game for free. So we're going to see what happens. This is a story I'm definitely tracking. Probably do a video on this either later today, depending on how far it gets. I kind of want to wait to see what it does later tonight, just because that's usually when peak hours are in the United States, between 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, because then you get obviously peak East, and then people on the West Coast are kind of starting to come in as well. So we will be following this. This is going to be going the way of Dustborn. If you don't know what that is, that's basically you're playing an Antifa character set in a
I discovered that yesterday, John.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's
I saw a clip and I had to ask the internet, what the hell is this? And please tell me it's real.
Oh, it is very real. They said those developers said that they made the game in response to Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign and election. Like they've admitted that in an interview.
So I'm guessing this Firewalk Studios is probably going to be one of the next studios to probably go under. And
this is their very first game, and they are a wholly owned subsidiary of PlayStation. So we will see what happens. But yeah, I have a feeling that they will not be around for very long. And if they are, it's because PlayStation will subsidize them. But I have a feeling they might go the way of, what was it, Luminary or Luminous, the developer that did Forspoken.
Yeah, Forspoken.
They were basically shut down and absorbed into Square Enix.
Yeah.
I think Cosgrove in the chat might be right. I think eventually what will happen is this game will go free to play, but I don't know if there's any kind of legal repercussions with that, given the fact that they are charging people now. I don't know what the legality is between making your game go free to play after you already charged people, and how that works. So that might be something to look out for. But I would not be surprised if it goes free to play before it eventually gets canceled, because even when it was free to play, we didn't even see 2,500 peak concurrent during the open beta just last month.
Yeah, this is 637 concurrent people playing in game right now. Is not looking good. Boom, canceled. Which is probably what's going to be happening with this. I don't know when these studios for video games, movies, TV shows, all this are going to pull their head out of their asses and realize this crap does not work. It does not help get people on board. What's the name of that game that everyone's playing that's big time anti-woke?
Well, it's not. I don't know if I wouldn't describe it as anti-woke. It's just you play Sun Wukong and you're going around fighting a bunch of mythical Chinese supernatural beings from based off of the Journey to the West.
Was it
they did? Yeah, so the developer Game Signs did require that content creators and influencers not discuss feminism, feminist propaganda and politics, and a number of other things in exchange for a game code.
Yeah. Yeah, and that game is getting a lot of traction right now.
It has broken the Steam record for most concurrent players for a single player game. It's number 2 on Steam's most concurrent players ever. The only game it's behind is PUBG Battlegrounds, which is shooter. I think
everybody playing PUBG.
Yeah, still are one of the top games on Steam regularly, but this game is absolutely crushing it. What's interesting is that every single day it's hit a new peak. I think most recently it was like 2.4 is the one that it hit today, and obviously it has a lot of support from China. A lot of Chinese players are playing it, but it also has a lot of support here in the United States. If you look at the PlayStation bestsellers list, it's number 2 behind Fortnite.
Wow. So this Concord game, is this Steam and PlayStation, or is this PlayStation only?
It's both. It's on PlayStation and Steam, obviously or PC through Steam. I actually did look at this game and I'll probably be including it in the article that I write up about. This game was not on like the first all the pages that you can look at on the PlayStation store when it came to pre-orders. It's just wasn't even there. No one was pre-ordering this game for PlayStation. So instead of that, I'll probably go through and look at where it does show up on their bestsellers list. My guess is it's not going to be very high at all. Most definitely won't be on the first page. That's for sure. So this game not doing well on Steam and likely is not doing well on PlayStation either. And from the reviews, people thought it was mediocre as well. I mean, just from the gameplay and the maps and things like that. I think my favorite review of it was this guy named Dreamcast Guy. and he described it as Walmart brand Overwatch.
Wow.
I don't know. I thought that was just. I thought that was. I like that. I was like accurate.
Yeah, Tom, I know you're not a big gamer, but any thoughts on this? Comments?
Nope.
I
Not really. I wouldn't be able to add any real
insight
to this. No, sorry, but I did see that other game we talked about earlier, so I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Just to highlight that, remember they said that they were influenced by the 2016. We did get confirmation from the lead character designer that this game Concord had been in development from 8 years or for 8 years, excuse me. So what was 8 years ago? 2016.
Yeah.
Makes one think, right?
Yep. Yep. It just jumped up to 642. I think people in our chat are going over there and jumping in and playing it.
Well, I expect it to go. I expect, like I said, I expect it to go up a little bit because people will be getting off work. It's a Friday.
Yeah.
But where does it peak at on this first day? Because I think this is where I don't think it's going to be like Wukong. I think it will peak first day and then downhill from there. So we'll see where it goes. It'll be interesting to see if it gets over 2,500. I think 2,500 is kind of a high bar for it because, again, like I said, they couldn't even get people to play it for free with 2,500.
You might get a few people also with just the curiosity factor. You know,
yeah, like how bad it really
now
is.
that we're like some of us are talking about it and such, and word's getting out about it, that might be.
I
might help bump it up a little bit anyway, is what I meant.
Possibly, but I feel like that time is over now. I mean, look at the Acolyte. How many of us were just absolutely trashing that show, and the viewership is like the Star Wars shows are in decline. Like,
yeah, but also look where it peaked, right? It peaked when Chris Gore said episode 4 is where shit goes nuts, or whatever it was, whatever episode it was.
3, yeah,
3. Yeah, sorry.
That's when it peaked on the whatever Variety is using as their source now. But if you look at Nielsen, it actually dropped off the charts on Nielsen at 4.
Yeah,
people didn't actually show up for 4. That's where it dropped off. It was on for it only made it for the first and second week, I think, and then it fell off the third week, and then it came back the final. I might be wrong on that. It might have been, you might be right, Tom. It might have been third week.
Yeah, I would just final. Maybe and I don't think it's gonna. And my point is, I don't even really think it would make any kind of real major dent. I'm just saying you might see a little bit of an uptick just because of the curiosity factor, because more of us are talking about it now. Like I just found out about that other game, for instance, and now that, you know, you guys are Yellow Flash was talking about this game and some other people now. I think the more word, there might be some people just out of curiosity might want to try it. But then again, you also got like Savvy and others who will have full playthroughs of like Dustborn and stuff. So I'd imagine once those get out there, yeah, then you won't need to play it to see it for yourself.
Yeah, and I think gamers are a little bit different too than TV watchers or even like people watching streaming stuff, because we've seen some of these games that have been added to Cabrutus Rambo's DEI detected website or his Sweet Baby Ink detected Steam curator list, and they are not playing them. So you look at things like Tales of Kenzera Zhao, which obviously there's lots of kind of negative press about that. And when it ended up happening, the guy was like, "Oh, our player numbers are actually really good. You only are seeing Steam, like we're on Switch, etc., etc." Well, 1 month, 2 months later, what's happening? Surgeon Studios, the developer, is laying people off because he was lying, and those player numbers were absolutely atrocious, and no one was actually playing the game or purchased it. We've seen this kind of over and over again. Dustborn is another example. I don't even think it got over 100 concurrent players. Last I looked, it was like at 82.
God,
and that's with everyone like crapping on it, right? It's like, so people don't even have the morbid curiosity to play it anymore. They're just like, this stuff is crap, and I'm just gonna like watch I'm gonna watch maybe Savvy roast it, and that's it. And I think we're seeing that with the Acolyte too, right? It's people are done with it, and they'd rather watch people like Echo Base, like Nick and Coach, like yourself, Tom, over at Midnight's Edge, or me and Pro, over on the Pro channel, just absolutely just trash the show. on our streams. So I think that's where that's what's happening now. People are more into seeing these shows get just absolutely roasted than they are.
YouTube content creators got more views than the actual show got.
Yeah.
by far.
Exactly.
Also, this is the other thing I wanted to mention about games versus a lot of the shows and movies. $60 for digital deluxe edition, $40 for that regular game. I can go see a movie, a matinee for like $12. I can log into if I want to watch something on Netflix or something, I can get it for 1 month for $10 or $12 or something. I mean, this is a pretty big chunk of change to see if a game is good or not. And word of mouth in the gaming space is a lot bigger than in the TV and movie space, as far as people willing to spend the money to go judge it for themselves.
And there's also way more competition too. As much as there is a lot of movies and television shows, and we talk about the glut, there are way more video games now. Plus, with Steam, you can go back and play games that you purchased like 5 years ago that you maybe just didn't get the time to go and play. And then also, like, there's replayability. So I know you probably have already started a new playthrough of Final Fantasy VII, I bet.
Man, I've played that game normal mode or easy mode, which I always do easy mode first just so I can get through the story, and then I do all my stuff in normal mode, then I go through hard mode. So I've gone through that game 3 times. And if that game sucked, man, I would have stopped playing it right after easy mode. I'm doing the same thing with Stellar Blade right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm talking about. And then and you obviously did that within like the space of 6 months here or whatever, because what did the game come out, February or something like that?
Yeah.
So you still have access to that. You're still going to have access to that at least for the foreseeable future on Steam. And you can go back and play that stuff. I remember I purchased a game a couple years ago, and the laptop I was using at the time just wasn't able to handle the game. And so I was like, oh, I'll just boot it up now. And I eventually was able to play it, even though it was like 5-6 years after I'd actually purchased it. So people can go back and play old games. And I think gamers are more inclined to do that potentially than maybe movie-going audiences are to avoid going to see new movies and watch old movies instead. Obviously, people do go and watch their old movies and stuff like that, but I feel like it's a different audience, right? Different mentality on how they look at things too.
Yeah, well, that I can agree with, and I totally can see where you're coming from with the whole point before about like gamers avoiding stuff as opposed to, the gotta see it factor when it comes to movies or television. But also the game audience isn't as diverse as the television or movie audience, and I don't mean that in the diverse way we talk about now. But I mean, you're right, John. Like, I mean, it's a very niche kind of group. And you're right, because I've mentioned before how I'm impressed how they come together real quick to say we don't like that, when they screw something up. So
yeah, and it's like, this is a bit like you can even look at it just from like a patch, like what's happening with Helldivers 2 with the constant nerfs of the weapons and things like that, and the players are making it very clear that they're not happy with that. The developers say that they're going to change things, and they still haven't. A lot of times you do see them kind of make that change when they get that negative feedback. But for the most part, you don't really see that when it comes to like movies or television. I feel like the one exception was Sonic, and what's interesting is that is a video game. It's a video game adaptation, right? Yeah. So maybe that's why it was the exception, because you had the gamers just be like, what are you doing? This is not Sonic. What is happening here? And they changed it, and I think for the better. Now they have a 3-picture trilogy and a spin-off show on Paramount, right, with Knuckles and everything. So it obviously worked out.
All right, guys. Real quick, Sundowners Club. Hell do you good, sir. I want Lucasfilm to fail because their executives hate the male fans. They want to remake Star Wars in their image, so I want them to fail miserably. Well, they're doing a pretty good job of doing that. Chris Gore was talking about how Kathy wants to leave, but she wants to go out on a win. If she's putting out stuff like this, she's going to be there for a long time before she gets a Star Wars win or Indiana Jones win or any win coming out of Lucasfilm. You guys see any wins coming down the pipeline, John or Tom?
Star Wars Outlaws is going to be a massive win for gamers as they boycott it and don't play it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that she'll get lucky with Mando and Grogu, but
you think so? After season 3,
here's the thing. It could, you're right. I mean, it could potentially bomb, but people like Grogu a lot. And I think that it will at least bring some folks into the theater. And it may have some surprises yet that we don't know about. But at the same time, that's like, to me, I'm just saying basically that's the only thing they've got coming up that has any slight potential of being a quote unquote win in the eyes of anybody. To where, like, if that's the case for Kathleen Kennedy, she's never leaving. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
She'll be there forever.
Yeah.
I mean, because as long as she's there, nothing is going to come out of any value. She's almost alienated Jon Favreau as bad as Marvel did at this point. I mean,
yeah.
And it's almost visible. It's right. Like, I mean, we've reported on it in rumors, but you can't even really say it's a rumor anymore. Motherfucker killed himself off in the 3rd season.
Yeah. And you haven't heard anything from him.
No, other than this movie coming out. And to me, this feels like all his ideas that would have probably been in season 3 are going to be put into this movie. Yeah. And this movie was maybe even a makeup or something or other to where Bob got desperate and like, we need something. Yeah. And this is the only thing we have that's even remotely, safe. Yeah. I mean,
throw a season 3 together. Just do something, Also, Liam's supernatural haunted Earth member for 13 months. Hail to you, good sir. Says hi. Hi to you. Hello. As well. All right, guys. Last topic of the day, and we're gonna wrap up. Tom, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to laugh. I wanted to point and laugh a little bit at the hubris. Because the Crow barely brought in like 600 to 650K in its preview night, which is one of the worst in a long time since Borderlands. It's even worse than Borderlands, which of course the same company put this out.
And those trailers did not help this movie at all.
I watched it for the most part, but yeah.
So what, John? Him like they showed that clip of him basically trying to do his best impression of John Wick without the guns.
Oh, the one action scene in the movie?
Yeah, that they shared.
Yeah. By the way, that clip they put out, you're right, John. That's like basically most of the one action scene in the whole movie. Like, look, I don't know what this would have been better off if it wasn't the Crow. They could have called it anything else, made it completely its own thing. It has very little to do with the original Crow outside of somebody gets to come back from the dead to invoke revenge. Right?
They admitted it too. Like they said, it had nothing to do with the Crow.
I mean, it should be called like Crow rehabilitation, if anything, because that's all it is. Like, I mean, it's about these 2 junkies who meet in rehab. They escape, they get killed, and he comes back and spoilers wins. But the other thing they add is the bad guys have a supernatural power too, and it just gets bogged down. And I said, if it was his own thing, it would have been so bad. But
almost like a Spawn.
Exactly. It feels like a bunch of things just kind of tossed together and doesn't look like any of them. It looks more like John Wick, like you said, Joker and John Wick, basically. Yeah.
But has the original director like come out and said like this is what you get what you deserve?
No, not yet.
Because I know he's been like actively saying like they never should have made this movie. It's a disgrace. What are you doing? Stop it.
I don't remember. Did he say something about the ghost of Brandon Lee haunting them or not? Because I know that somebody said that about The Exorcist. They're like, I hope the ghost of William Friedkin haunts all y'all.
I don't know if he said anything about that, but he was just be like, stop disgracing Brandon Lee's legacy and all this stuff. Like,
oh my God.
He did not want to see them make the movie at all.
Well, nobody did.
And that's when Momoa was attached to it. That was, I mean, this guy's been saying this for years now. So
yeah, this is one of those films that I did not think they needed to
It's
touch.
like anti-entertainment protest. I like that.
It's like an anti-entertainment. Yeah, I wanted to look at some of these reviews from the critics on here. Yeah, it's like an anti-entertainment protest. This one, an improved redo of the 1994.
That dude looks like he's 12. He does not get it.
No way I am buying that any sane, normal person is going to think this if they go see this movie. Everything in this movie is too much of a gloomy, buttoned-up slog to deliver even amusingly bad material.
it's shaved down to shit. Like you can tell half the movie's probably on the cutting room floor too, and you still don't care. It's just ugh.
It's quite something when you consider the talent involved, how bland and incoherent 2024's The Crow actually is. Here's a positive review. Anyone who knows the premise of the original story can see the brutality of what's to come and can guess how Eric, in an act of supreme sacrifice, is willing to give anything to save Shelley. Right.
Boy, he really sucked on it. Oh,
yeah. I'm wanting to see if I see anybody I recognize. I'm just looking at the names over here. I was curious if Grace Randolph put a.
I can't even believe Grace Randolph would have given this a good review.
Probably not.
Well, and the other funny part about this is it's doing so badly that we're getting reports of it being pulled from screens.
That's what I was actually getting ready to bring up. I was like, if this thing does all right, so opening night, it's at what, 650K?
Yeah. It's looking at about 5 or 6 on the low end. If it's lucky, 8 or 9 on the high end. Initially, they were tracking it at about 12.
So you're looking at top end box office come Monday morning at 4 million.
No, it'll maybe do a little bit better. They're saying maybe 6 or 5 on the low end. But if it does worse than that, because that's the other thing too, that you may not be wrong, Nick, but it all depends on how many theaters it's gotten pulled from. Because I've noticed, I went and checked, and a bunch of screenings have been taken down. 6 had said it was showing in 2 of the major theaters in her town, and one of the theaters dropped it. The guys last night were complaining over on Comics Channel because they had a couple of them had pre-bought tickets to go see the movie, and their screening got canceled.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I would be so pissed.
So they're obviously pulling screenings of this because they're not selling enough tickets, and they're just. So you might be right. By the end of this weekend, it might dive so badly off because they don't have the screens anymore. Yeah. But they're not going to waste the screens on it when other movies like Deadpool and Alien and Ends Here are making a lot more money.
Yeah. So I was in between. I'm gonna with that. It kind of in play with the whole screen thing. I'm gonna say in between 4 and 5 is where
I was gonna say like 5, maybe 6 if it's lucky.
Yeah, this thing is gonna be a dumpster fire. They should have never made it. Never.
The only thing it's got going for it is it costs like I think a third of what Borderlands did, so they won't end up losing as much money on it in the long run. Yeah. But let's be real, this is a rights retainer. That's the only reason this movie exists. It's the only reason it came out, because they didn't want it. Lionsgate didn't want to lose the rights to, and I'm sure they had to make a movie by now to retain them. That's the whole reason. Because like you guys had said earlier, this movie has been in development hell now for the better part of a decade or more.
Yeah, long time, and none of the sequels of the original have really done very good.
No, well, they were straight to video by the third one. The second one bombed at the box office horribly. And then you did the other 2 straight to video, and it had a shitty TV show as well. But we've gotten to this point now where most people don't even remember the sequels. But the first movie was such a cultural milestone that I constantly joke, but it's almost true that when you walk into Hot Topic now, half the store is Nightmare Before Christmas, the other half is The Crow, right? Yeah. Like that's the kind of merchandise they have. Like this show or this movie has become such a cultural touchstone. And with the fact that how Brandon Lee, died during the making of it, it almost makes it untouchable, right? It's almost like you shouldn't touch it. It's like it's got something about it to where
they make like 4 sequels.
Yeah, we were just bringing that up. How now basically they've been memory hold by society at this point, because nobody really cares or remembers the sequels.
Yeah, it's like there's there's only one Predator movie. I don't know. I'd probably put the second one, Danny Glover, in it. I've grown to like it. It's definitely not as good as the first one. And there's only 2 Alien films. There's only 6 Star Wars films.
There's only the other side of this
movie.
So not a fan of the last one, because I know we were talking about that last week.
You're not a fan of the last one?
Which one?
The one that just came out.
The last Alien movie. Yeah. So I thought it was mid. Tom, did you go see it?
Not yet, but I've heard enough about it to know that I won't like it because it ties in with Prometheus and Covenant, and I friggin' hate those movies.
Yeah, R&B just about walked out of the theater.
Yeah, I'd probably, if R&B didn't like it, that tells me a lot, because R&B can find almost anything to like about anything.
Yeah. You know, there was definitely stuff I liked about it. I've told people, like, definitely go see it for yourself, judge it for yourself. It's worth, I would say, pay the matinee cost and go see it at a matinee, because it's worth a watch. It is worth a watch. But I found it to be very meh.
But I mean, as far as The Crow too, it makes no sense to me, because there's other versions of The Crow. Why keep trying to go back to the Eric Draven version, right? Like,
yeah,
there's other places you can go with this character. There's been other Crows. You can go all sorts of other places. It would have been neater to see, like, either the cowboy version, or some people even said the female one. I can't remember her name, but, like, you know, there's other places you could.
Not in this.
I know. I agree, John. Like, this is the wrong time for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna do this, I wouldn't have made a reboot or a remake. I would have gone that route. I would have dug deeper into one of the other ones. I probably would have done the Western Crow at this point. I think that would have probably played best. And that kind of would have opened the idea and let people know that, yes, we're doing more Crow movies, but they're not going to be Eric Draven. They're going to be other Crows, other time periods, etc. So, yeah.
That would have been a way more interesting way for them to move forward with this franchise than what they're doing with it.
Otherwise, it just reminds me of the Child's Play remake, where I'm like watching it going, you know, if this movie wasn't a Child's Play remake, it'd be fine. If they took all the original ideas they brought to this and made them their own movie, you might have something here. And then, like, a year later, they made Megan, which pretty much was that, all the original ideas they had in that Child's Play remake, and it did very well. Now, like I said, if they'd have just come out and called this movie Junkies, a love story or something like that, and you know, I don't think people would have cared as much, and it might actually made some money. This is one of the times where I think something being an IP really hurt it. Because I mean, the movie, it's kind of like what you just said about Alien, right? Like, unfortunately, Alien is attached to Alien no matter what you do.
Yeah.
But with this, with having Skarsgård in it, the type of story it is, it would appeal to a certain audience that I think, had you sold it in a completely different way, like, or Ghost Story, a love story or something like that, anything that wasn't The Crow, I think people would have maybe been a little bit more interested to see, because it looked like a unique, because that's the one thing too everybody said last night, is it looks visually it really kind of well done. And so whoever the cinematographer was and the directorial choices made on that part of it are fine. And I mean, and there is the story flows enough. I mean, you get the story, but the point is you're just watching it going, I'd rather just watch the original Crow, right? Like, this just doesn't appeal to me as a Crow remake. But if it was just some other kind of story, fine, whatever. I'm not real keen on the idea of two junkies getting a, you know, second chance at this whole kind of thing. Like, I'm not saying junkies are bad people, but it just doesn't gel with the Crow, because the whole point of Eric and Shelley in the first film, and to a point in the comics, were that they were good people that had something bad happen to them, right? So this is why Eric got that second chance to set things right. And that part of the story is really missing here, because you don't really feel that sorry for these people. Like, that's part of the problem.
That's kind of entertainment in general, right? With the protagonists that they use.
Yeah. And I mean, you might feel a little bit more sorry for him if it wasn't a Crow, because at that point, then you're like, okay, they're just these two people who got wrapped. Because it is like the quote unquote closest thing you get to a Sherry or Sarah character in this movie is Shelley's roommate in the beginning of the movie. And she's kind of the one who sets the whole thing in motion, but it's really kind of, the bad guy he's like a devilish kind of character. He can whisper in your ear and make you do things. Right.
Did you see this movie already, Tom?
Yeah. Yeah. It's garbage.
Okay.
It's trash. It's just, it's a waste of an hour. It's not even 2 hours long. That's the other thing too. And you're still looking at your watch. And like I said, you're like, you can tell it was cut down, but if it wasn't The Crow, I probably would have looked at it differently, watched it differently. Might've been like, yeah, it's kind of like a Death Wish, John Wick meets, you know, Ghost Story Crow-ish kind of movie. And then I don't think it would have been as bad. I think it would have been just very mid-level kind of movie.
Yeah, I am probably going to take a hard pass on this.
Yeah, I don't recommend it at all.
Watch it. I will never
missing out
in theaters at all this year. Yeah. So
I still to this day have not seen the new Indiana Jones film.
Neither have I.
Oh, have you not seen it either? Yeah, nope. I still have not watched it, and I probably never will.
I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
I saw everything I needed to when I heard that she punches him in the face or whatever.
Yeah,
Not
and then
the-
there's a time travel
Yeah.
at the end. I was just like,
Oh,
oh,
it's through a bunch. Yeah,
yeah.
Or maybe she doesn't punch him out, but she like convinces him to come back and he doesn't want to. And I was like, this is stupid. Indiana
Yeah.
Jones doesn't act like that. I'm not watching this.
All right,
it's a
guys.
missed opportunity. On
Yeah.
on the Indy part, but not on the Crow. The Crow was stupid, dumb idea that never should be remade.
I 100%.
Time travel in an Indiana Jones movie is stupid too, though. So
Almost as stupid as Aliens.
did they do time travel too? Oh, Crystal Skull. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Never
I meant
mind.
Aliens and Indiana Jones. But
Yeah.
Like I didn't
Yeah.
mind the Area
I feel a little
51
bit-
thing is like a nod, like a wink, wink, nod, nod at the beginning of that movie. But when the whole movie
that's
was
where the arc
predicated on
is
it,
and stuff.
like like then it's like no, the Indiana Jones movies are supposed to be religious based artifacts. What the hell is this?
Yeah,
This
Oh.
kind of the same way I felt about the new one.
No,
Oh, Sassy does say she does knock him out. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she knocks him out. Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
No.
So they should have
Cringe.
done like instead of the aliens in the fourth one, done like the search for the lost city of Atlantis or something, you know, and then this
Terrible
one,
Longinus.
yeah, and then this one have it be some other you know, like some other religious artifact.
Well, you already had
thing.
two Christian based artifacts. You know, you had, you know, the stones from Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
I mean, something like that. That's all you
Yeah.
got to do. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. And the whole point of it is, the whole joke of that always is that Indy is always such a, you know, he's kind of an agnostic of sorts.
Mm.
And the whole point is he doesn't necessarily, I wouldn't say he doesn't believe, but he also doesn't, to him, it's more about the artifact itself and then the mystery about it. And then, but then when he gets
definitely
it,
comes to believe in the first.
yeah,
later.
exactly. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
sees what
He's
the
like,
arc
close
does.
your eyes and don't look.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
Like that's
like-
kind of the joke, right? Like, is that he starts the film as kind of an agnostic, and then by the end, he's clearly knows that this shit's real.
Yeah.
And then that's what I love about, you know, when you get to the third film, because then you have the cup, you know, and all that stuff, and he knows that if his dad drinks, then he'll survive, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, no, and that's kind of the whole point of this, right? Is you get an artifact that even if no matter what it is, it's real, but time travel, aliens, that's no.
Yeah, that's getting off into left field a little too much for me. Yeah, there's only 3 Indiana Jones films. The first 3. They're the only 3 I'll watch.
And what's sad is that what's his face, Shia LaBeouf's character got done the dirtiest. We may not have liked him, but he didn't
Killed him
deserve
off screen.
that.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't hate his performance or anything.
Did they kill him
well, that
off
was-
screen?
Yeah, they killed him off screen in Vietnam. That's the whole point of why Indy and Marion got. That was the other thing. You got them married at the end of the last movie finally, just so you can have them divorce. It's
Yeah,
like, what the
and
hell
their
was the
son
point of that?
and their son dies.
That's what we're talking about. That's what that's what we were just saying though. They make these they turn these protagonists into these like insufferable like losers that no one wants to be like. They're not aspirational at all. Like, we're talking about these junkies in The Crow. We're talking about a divorce. Like, I just remember the photos of like Indiana Jones looking depressed on the couch or whatever. He's like, what is happening here? That's not Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Oh, good lord.
But anyhow,
Zombie
He
Box
looked like he
reviews.
turned into an alcoholic.
yeah, he was. He literally.
Yeah,
was.
I heard that a lot from people that saw it.
That's the implication anyway for that I got.
Zombie Box reviews for €2. Indiana Jones and the Ark of the Covenant. You know, and then we got the video game coming out. John, I'm sure you'll probably be hitting the article.
I've already covered that. I mean, I know they just did some new Gamescom stuff, but I covered it when they first released it. I mean, it looks like just the same thing. Like the girl boss character is right there. I mean, it was in that first trailer that they released when they actually like highlighted it. I'm like, this is and just didn't even, the graphics didn't even look that great either. I mean, it looked dated.
And now it's coming to PlayStation. It's not an Xbox exclusive now either anymore.
Well, it's Xbox exclusive for what, like 3 months or something, and then it comes to PlayStation.
Oh, is that what it is? Is it? It's not day one
like,
on PlayStation. Is it 3 months?
What is it even? I don't even remember what it's called. Indiana Jones and like the circle or something.
Yeah, something the circle or I can't remember.
The Great Circle.
The search for the pronouns.
Yeah. Zombie Box, while you looking for that, John, Zombie Box Reviews, this video is for you, brother.
I'm gonna kill you dead. Then I might kick this thing. Now I'm gonna crack your head open. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to die?
You just made that super chat video a lot better, Tom.
Screw this candle thing. I'm gonna kick it.
It's it comes a few months after it launches on Xbox and PC to PlayStation.
Okay.
So it will be exclusive, but it's just exclusive for maybe 3 to 6 months, which is what we've seen, right? We saw Ubisoft just did this with what is the pirate game that they released? I don't know, Skull and Bones or whatever. Came to Steam, but it had been on console for 6 months because it released in February, and it just came to Steam, I think, yesterday, and it's doing terribly. So it might be doing worse than Concord. I haven't looked at it today, but yeah. So I think we're seeing that. I mean, I know Phil Spencer, Xbox head, has talked about that, having these basically just getting rid of exclusivity because, I mean, the larger market now is not on the consoles. It's on PC. People just haven't really purchased the consoles to the extent that they did in the previous generation with PS4 and the Xbox One.
And with Xbox's Game Pass, it's like you almost don't even need an Xbox console anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, just
we were just
PC.
What were we talking about Disney getting rid of all of their revenue streams?
Yeah. It's stupid, but whatever. Anyways, guys, that is going to do it for us here. Episode 25 of the EBN Cast. I want to thank Tom for joining us today and John for being here. Fellas, tell everybody what you got going on. John?
Yeah, so obviously going to be tracking this Concord thing, probably like look into Skull and Bones as well, see how that's doing, and probably have put up a video on either one of those two later this afternoon. I am in the middle of working on a Rings of Power article as well. They are introducing a dark wizard played by Kieran Hines into the show. The wizards do not actually appear in the Second Age in Tolkien's Legendarium, so they're continuing to double down on that. So I'll be covering that, and then Stock Car channel, John F. Trent's you can find it with John F. Trent. I'll be covering Lucas Oil late model dirt series probably later tonight. Maybe the World of Outlaws. There's a bunch of series racing tonight, so probably watching them. Probably maybe do some coverage on that. I'm not sure. It might just be on Twitter. We'll see.
Yeah, and if you guys aren't subbed to the Trent Report, description below in on this video here. And also, guys,
MapParkPlace.com.
Yeah, and make sure you guys have thatparkplace.com bookmarked on your web browser. Tom, what do you got going on?
You can always find me at Midnight's Edge After Dark, MEAD Radio. I've been doing this thing called commentaries lately through Webinaire or whatever it's called. Where I watch a movie and talk about it. Since I get yelled at for talking over movies all the time, I figure I might as well do that to you guys too. So I'm trying to think what the next one is going to be. Last one was me and Script Actor talking about Superman the movie. Other than that, you never know where I'll pop up. I just I happen to pop up here or there.
Tom's all over the place. All over the place.
I got I think Salty Nerds tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you can find me there. And,
all right, guys. Well, thank you again for all your super chats. Be sure you smash the like button on your way out. And for all of us here at the EBN Cast, we'll see you guys next Thursday night for our Thursday night live stream. And then, of course, Friday afternoon, 2:00 Central Time, back here next Friday. Peace. Or as Coach would say, we are, you are, Echo Base Network. Bye, guys.